rolling dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you need the wrong.
Acquisitions Incorporated book has just come out, just arrived. Matt has a physical copy.
Yep, here it is.
We have thoughts.
2 seconds ago, like 30 seconds before we started recording.
Yeah, we have thoughts that will probably have to wait until next episode. Yeah, but we are aware of that. Anything else of note? Everything's been pretty quiet on the...
We've been saying forever, always give your players a ship or something like that. In my game this week, I gave my players a Zeppelin.
A Zeppelin?
Full with a car hangar bay, hooks for parasite fighters, and they immediately started welding shit onto it and, adding a crane and a hospital bed. Players love to just have a thing to mess with.
Yep.
We spent most of an entire session doing that.
My players in Waterdeep love their tavern so much. They love managing it. They love going there and hanging out. They love spending money on improving it and speaking with their vendors and doing supply chain management.
Supply chain management. The RPG. Have they come up with any craft cocktails yet?
Oh, no, they haven't. Though they
Rob, you should have a pretentious, mustachioed, wearing vests and waistcoats, open a craft cocktail bar across the street. Some mixologists.
The mixologists. That's a great idea.
Mixomancers.
They're not so great. A brewery rival recently died under mysterious circumstances, so there may be an opening for a new and more interesting hipster.
Yeah, it's a gentrifying force.
Yeah, it's gentrifying. Ooh, I like this a lot. I'm totally going to use this. But they don't have any craft cocktails, although I may push them on that. Though they have a theme for their tavern. It's called the Phantom Pour, and they've got a poltergeist, a friendly poltergeist. Which they have leaned into by having unseen servant deliver drinks and using mage hand to pour things. It's a whole, it's like a Hard Rock Cafe of Waterdeep. It's got a whole thing. It's like a Dave and Buster's.
When you have a down session, you should Bob's Burgers that shit. The restaurant across the street opens and they've got organic free-range cocktails that the wealthy of Waterdeep are flocking to.
Craft beers.
They're actually a secret cult of mixologists worshipping the almighty ratio.
The gain power by
liquor,
doing
sweet, sour, ice.
They perform dark rituals
the
by
4 elements
by making increasingly advanced and complicated eldritch drinks.
What's this rum infused with? That's halfling souls. Delicious.
Delicious. Okay, so this is a podcast. The name of the podcast is Dungeon Master of None.
I'm Dungeon Master Matt.
I'm Dungeon Master Rob. And today we're actually just going to be catching up on letters, I think.
Letters.
So...
A, B, C, D,
That's right.
E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Sorry, that's my Nick Cage impression.
It is a alphabet episode. No, we letters from you. Written letters.
Let's roll into it.
Yeah, so we got a bunch of these. As usual, thanks for writing in.
If you want to add your letter to the collection, right, you can at...
dmofnone@gmail.com.
Or, what's that number for the DM hotline?
I'm
Rob?
never going to remember.
That's 774-203-4629, RPG 20D Hoax. 774-203-4629.
So let's hop right into it.
Okay, our first one's from Bryan. Bryan writes, I was so happy to find a show about D&D that wasn't another actual play podcast. Starting Earthsea because of your show, and it's so refreshing reading a fantasy book where the author doesn't think their ability to describe how far the juice of an apple runs down a character's arm reflects how good of an author they are.
That's a great point. I'll tell you what, if you're writing a fantasy novel, save your luxurious descriptions for things that need luxurious descriptions. I can read any number. I can read Ovid if I want to know how juicy an apple is, all right? You're not going to beat Ovid. Just save it for something else.
Just a small quibble of something you said while talking about another book series, The Sword of Truth. While the Mord Sith definitely could be described as the BDSM section, I think the more appropriate wording would be the torture porn section. It's the same reason the BDSM community has such a problem with 50 Shades of Grey. They both have the aesthetic of BDSM, but are both terrible at the representations of a safe, sane, and consensual BDSM relationship to varying degrees. Not a big deal, just thought I would throw that out there. Bryan,
thank you for making this point. You're actually correct. We flippantly called it BDSM, but it should be noted that Richard's engagement with pain
the author
sex,
of the Sword of Truth guy. Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry. Richard is the character. Terry Goodkind is the
Terry Goodkind,
author.
yes. Yeah,
Richard, in the book, his engagement is not consensual at first, or maybe ever. Kind of a gray area. And that's not BDSM. That's just torture porn. We are... was not meant to belittle or mock actual practitioners of BDSM who are generally very careful and much better about questions of consent than the general population. And there's very little, if any, consent at any point in The Sword of Truth. And that's one of the many reasons why those books suck.
Don't let repressed libertarian or religious weirdos write with the BDSM aesthetic. It turns out real bad. Yeah. If it comes up, if we discover, you know what, here's the thing. Sorry, let me get my thoughts together. If you want to read good sex in a fantasy novel, just read the Cushiel's Dart series. I forget the name of by Jacqueline Carey. As far as I know, it's the only good sex that I can think of in any fantasy novel. Read other books, but if you want to combine the two, I'm pretty sure those are the only ones. Skip the sex scenes in the rest of them. Especially the ones in Sword of Truth. Don't read Sword of Truth. I'm sorry, I'm going to flat out say, just don't bother. There are better things for you to read. Do watch the awful television series filmed in New Zealand called Legend of the Seeker, which bears very little relation to the books and is good campy fun. But yeah, thanks for writing in, Bryan. You're absolutely correct. We were not meant to be critical or flippant about BDSM. That is not what was happening in The Sword of Truth. Okay, next letter.
Guys, you will address us as DMs or nothing. Thank you very much. No, it's fine. Guys, it's fine. The Gnomes in Space.
Gnomes in Space.
If you'll remember last time, Matt and I were discussing how to fit various fantasy races into homebrew settings, and we both expressed that we were a little puzzled by gnomes. Don't dislike gnomes, just don't know where to put them. And the letter writer, addressing this, says, the Gnomes in Space should obviously be the corporate types that have secret research labs all over the place. In asteroids and on the edges of volcanoes, space station builders, etc. People know them as experts in building biospheres and really long-lasting or extreme environment ships. In the background, though, they are the equivalent of Nazi scientists, love it, who conduct abhorrently unethical research at times. Pleasant and not generally full of malice. Just a different code of ethics than black and white, blue-orange ethics like the Fae. Oh, that's interesting.
Ooh, yeah.
They were used and paid well by the Dragonborn, but were not to a part of the cause, just interested in the research opportunities. The letter writer compares this to the Protogen Corporation in The Expanse and Hydra in Marvel. I like this. I think this is
And the letter signs off, sounds like a fun setting, Rob.
It was me. I wrote this
Yes.
to Matt. I actually like this a lot, and we talked about it in the podcast, I think, that the gnomes had to be some sort of, like, magical tinkerer or technological, like, if you're keeping their inherent abilities, which are sort of all over the place, I think it would make sense for them to be alchemists or mystical experimenters, artificers, and I do like, unethical, extra
legal?
Yeah, extra legal corporations that, span
GnomeCorp.
large... GnomeCorp, ooh. I like
Yeah.
I like GnomeCorp.
GnomeCorp, they're sort of the Wayland Yutani.
That's got potential.
Yeah, actually, that's great. I think I might stick them on the planet with dwarves and gnomes could be from a similar planet origin. Maybe the gnomes are conducting the extra-legal / amoral research that got the planet blown up. That's their big secret. And they don't feel too bad about it. It was an acceptable cost for their experiment. But they make really good shit. Yeah, I think what are, if we're trying to like make a Venn diagram of things, if you're struggling like we were to put gnomes, just in general terms, it's like, I think the Venn diagram is secrets, magic, blue-orange morality, right? And maybe gnomes are at the center of those
Gnomes
things.
are the center of that, yeah.
And
I
jokes.
do like the idea of making them a little like weird and alien, because otherwise there's like a lot of, because if you just make them like small and goofy, there's still kind of like some overlap with halflings, and if you make them too like crafty, there's overlap with dwarves. So I think making them like a little like, I do think that what Pathfinder did, making them fey and a little bit, you know, out there, was a good strategy for making them unique.
Yeah, keep sending us your gnome ideas, and thanks, Rob, for yours. I am totally stealing it.
Yeah, I'm thinking we've talked about doing like a full dwarf episode, but we might even want to do a full gnome episode. Really dig into gnome lore. GnomeCorp, gnome lore.
Yeah, we can go back to their ancient feud with the kobolds. We can try and say the word for deep gnomes.
Snurfleblin. Yeah, Matt and I will spend days practicing how to say deep gnome. All right.
Thanks again, Rob. All right, our next letter comes from Evan. Hi, Rob and Matt. I'm a relatively new listener plowing through your episodes. I'm listening to episode 49, where you talk about competitive D&D, where you mention a sorcerer.
I want to stop here for a second and say that I had completely forgotten about competitive D&D.
I think it fell off the radar.
And I really wanted to like watch some more, but it was so boring and so bad. And I wonder if it's still going on. Sorry. If anyone was expecting us to talk more about, what was that, Matt? What was that called? I can't believe that I haven't even, like, it was
D&D
so bad.
Arena? I don't.
D&D Arena. All right, sorry to interrupt. I just like.
No, yeah,
hey, Evan,
it was.
Thank you for reminding me about this, because I want to go back and.
It'll be a weird footnote in the history of D&D, if anything, other than the competitive D&D that has long thrived at Gen Con.
Already exists at cons. Sorry, Evan, continue.
Evan says, I'm listening to episode 49, where you talk about competitive D&D, where you mention a sorcerer wins the game by illegally casting Scorching Ray twice. Where is the reference material for only being able to cast one spell per turn? I'm a relatively new player and DM, and I haven't heard that rule before. Great job, guys. Your tips on DMing and world building are the top. Cheers, Evan. Okay, yeah, no, this is a rule that catches everyone up. It's like the sneakiest rule in the basic part of Dungeons and Dragons.
If you're a new listener, I want you to know that I, an experienced DM, did this wrong for basically 2 years, because it's not really, like, clear anywhere in the rules how this works. But
it's also not super important. Like, it is important, but like, if you've been doing it wrong, who the fuck cares? It's fine.
This is a point of contention for some reason. It's on page 202, right, Matt? You looked this up?
Yeah. So, this comes from page 202, and this is one of those confusing rules that there's had to be several clarifications on, but it's on page 202 of your player's handbook.
While Matt's looking up the specific wording, here's how it works. You can cast 2 spells, a bonus action spell, and a standard, or it's not a call, it's just an action spell, if one of them is a cantrip, right? Yes. You cannot cast 2 spells unless one of them is a cantrip. That is what's the exact wording?
Here's the exact wording, right? It's under casting a spell and casting time. It says under bonus action, a spell cast with a bonus action is especially swift. You must use a bonus action on your turn to cast the spell, provided that you haven't already taken a bonus action this turn. You can't cast another spell during the same turn except for a cantrip with a casting time of 1 action. Why it came up in this specific scenario, and the most common way you'll cast a spell as a bonus action, is if you're a sorcerer with the Quicken spell feature.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I tend to
That's what
allow
happened
it.
in the thing, right? A
That's what
sorcerer
happened.
quickened a spell,
Yeah.
which is fine, but then their second spell of the turn has to be a cantrip. They can use their action for anything else, attack, to dash, to dodge, to cast a cantrip, but not to cast another spell of first level or higher.
So in my games, let me tell you how this has come up and why I ruled differently. So you can also do something like if you're a cleric, I cast Cure Light Wounds or Cure Wounds, and then I cast Spiritual Weapon, right? Which is a second level bonus spell, right? According to the rules, that's illegal. I never had a problem with that. And it sort of depends on the... it depends on a lot of things. If you're not having a lot of combats, it can allow casters to do more with their turns. And I understand the argument for not allowing it. You definitely should not allow your sorcerer to bonus action cast Scorching Ray twice or Fireball twice or something like that. But
the reason is that it makes the sorcerer... The reason why this rule is here is it basically allows a sorcerer with Quicken Spell or some other ability that gives your players another action to spell cast. If you can cast 2 of your highest level spells in one turn, it's too much. It's too much.
But at the same time, I don't love this rule because I don't see a problem with allowing a druid to cast Entangle and then Shillelagh, right? But that's technically illegal, right? And again, I also don't have a problem with a cleric casting, a Sanctuary and then Spiritual Weapon. Or, there's plenty of situations where allowing 2 spellcasts is fun and dynamic, but doesn't break the game. However, there are enough corner cases that it can be pretty overpowered. So that's the ruling. And if you're new here, don't feel bad if you didn't know this. It's not in any way clear. You have to go looking for this rule. According to sort of the internal logic of D&D, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to cast these 2 spells, except that it is explicitly forbidden in the rulebook, which is not generally how 5th edition works.
It's really just a confusing case, and I think the main way to think about it is it's not that you can't cast more than 1 spell in a turn. It's just if you use a bonus action to cast a spell, your other spell must be a cantrip. That's all you need to remember. And it's super confusing, and you're right to write in, Evan.
If your players have been doing this and they aren't breaking the rules, don't change it. This is what I did in my campaign. I had been running it for 2 years, and then one of my players was like, actually, this is wrong. And I said, sorry, I'm not going to change it. But now I rule it differently in games I've played. If your players are breaking the rules and using it to break your game, now you know how to tell them to stop.
Right. This is one of those cases where sometimes fixing a rules inconsistency isn't always worth it. If it's not ruining your game and it's not making someone super upset and it would hurt the dynamic of play and distract from the fun you're having more than it would help, The
example that came up in that episode is actually one of the very specific reasons why it exists and how it could break the game, because it was competitive and it was a huge power spike. And
if you had a team of all sorcerers and they only had 1 spell or 2 spell slots and they basically did this on 1 round, they would destroy the other team. It would be great.
It would be great.
Yeah. All right.
If you, by the way, we're not huge rules lawyers, but we do know the rules. And if anything ever doesn't make sense, or you want us to address something, we're happy to talk about it. We are not Chris Perkins and do not have the law, but we
or Jeremy Crawford.
We are old school gamers who spend too much time thinking about rules. So by all means, write us in and we're happy to discuss it.
This is a thing that I think people who are new to the game are often afraid to say, well, I think this is the rules, because people who've played the game longer would be like, no, it's not like this. I've been playing for 10 years. People who are new to the game often get the rules right more than people who've been playing the game and have played other editions or other role-playing games, and they get them all mixed up. I've never had a worse time with rules than transitioning editions in Dungeons & Dragons.
I was running Death wrong when I started 5th edition because I just didn't bother to look at the new rules. I was running this wrong. There were a couple other things that I had I think I had cover wrong. So listen, don't ever feel bad. And if somebody is a jerk to you about the rules, they're just a jerk, period. So don't be afraid to lay down the law.
All right, thanks for writing in, Evan. Our next letter is a really short one from Darren. He writes, you've definitely already seen this, but just in case you haven't seen this, here's a link to the Public Medievalist podcast.
We have seen it. We're very excited about it. We will link it in the episode description. If you do not remember...
Congratulations, Paul. You've caught the podcast bug. You'll now become rich, famous, wealthy, just like
successful.
Us.
We had Paul Sturdivant on our... Which episode? I forget. We'll put it in the link.
Episode
he was great.
69, let's say.
Nice. He was great. It was a wonderful discussion, and he caught the bug. So I hope that it's wildly successful.
Their first episode is about the Game of Thrones finale, and is a much more nuanced discussion of that show, filled with medievalists and actual fantasy authors than our discussion will ever be. So check out the Public Medievalist podcast.
And they actually have multiple historian experts instead of like 1.5 like we have. So check it out.
All right.
Thanks for bringing it to our attention. And okay. Sorry, let me check my sauce again real fast. Okay.
All right, Rob, do you want to read our next letter?
Yes. This one is from Dalton. Dalton says, "Hello, Dungeon Masters of at least one." That's correct. That is a way to address us. It's me again. Thanks so much for weighing in on my psionics idea. I do remember answering this, though I don't remember which podcast, and I'm not going to make a promise to be able to tell you which one it was. Go back and listen to one of our previous ones for discussion of psionics. Dalton says 2 things. First, I held a session 0 tonight and went great. I used a lot of your advice. Helping them create their characters and getting a sense for who the characters were was easier and rewarding, but you should do an episode on how to teach mechanics to new players. Actually, Dalton, I'm really glad you brought this up. This is literally something we were discussing very recently. It's kind of a big project. We realize there's a gap here that we want to work on, but we will do this in an upcoming episode because we realize that there's a big empty space in between like picking up the materials and getting started, and so we want to do a real basic how-to.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've talked about focusing on is how to teach rules piecemeal, but also like how to teach and encourage like things that are fun, like role playing that of whatever type your group enjoys the most, right? So that's something we'll work on. Thanks, Dalton.
Thanks, Dalton. Continuing, Dalton says that was much harder. So if you've done nothing else in life, you helped me teach other adults to pretend to be elves real good. Kudos. We have unironically
elves
said
be real good.
We have unironically said that if nothing else, if this got just one person to pick up D&D and be a dungeon master and feel good about it, that is worth our time. And I fully believe it. D&D has been so great for me in my life, and I love it. It brings so much joy. So if it gets you playing, I could not be happier.
I want nothing else than to be elves real good. It's the perfect. That's the perfect encapsulation of everything.
We just want to be. Yeah, we just want to be elves real good.
Thank you for that.
2, other than praise, I'm seeking a little bit more advice. Great, that's what we're here for. I've recently cast a net online to try and create a Dungeon Dragons community in my smaller city. Nashville, the big city, is an hour away, and while it has a healthy adventure league scene, I'd like to start some sort of home game association. How do I start? I've only met 2 people in my life who have played in the past. I found my current group online. They have never played. Also, they've never seen Critical Role, which is a blessing.
Yeah, usually. Sometimes.
Yeah, probably for the... Honestly,
maybe.
We love Critical
50,
Role,
50.
but people... If you've never played, but you have seen Critical Role, you come to a game with a lot of preconceptions, and that can be hard for a new DM. Love Critical Role. How do I develop a D&D scene, some sort of D&D pyramid scheme, D4 scheme? I'm gonna steal that. Hang on, wait. Let's not do this. Let's create a multi-level multi-level marketing scheme for listen,
Okay, no,
Dalton,
that's a good idea.
We're not going to use this, and we're going to steal your idea and become rich. No, okay. My brilliant plan is to teach others to play the game, love the game, and then convince them to DM so I can put away my screen and just play. P.S. Please make that Tremors one shot. Don't worry, Dalton, we are going to.
Okay, so this a Dungeons and Dragons pyramid scheme.
Well, this
could
is a great
not
question.
be hard to do if Avon can do it, if Amway can do it. Surely Wizards of the Coast can do it.
Well, this is a great question. So the problem is usually getting a critical mass of people. So here's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
If I were going to start from scratch, I would say get together a group of people and say, I'm going to run a one shot, or I'm going to start a campaign, right? And you have 4 to 6 people, and you do that. And then you say, great, we'll keep playing. I would love it if one of you would do a one shot of your own once you feel comfortable with the game. Also, please tell your friends. And I would just put some structure on this, say like once a month or once every other month. You'll say, great, somebody new is going to try DMing. Invite some people if you can. This is a great opportunity to bring newbies in. I do this informally, and it has grown my local D&D community immensely.
Yeah, Rob's a master of this.
I'm really good at bringing new people in, but I think it would be great to sort of like put some rails on it, which I haven't done. Say like once a month, here's Drink and Dungeons new players game where you come and I try out a one shot. The issue isn't, I think, anymore getting people to play. I think it's never been easier. If you do live in a small town, it can be hard to find people, and it can be really hard to convince people to DM. It's very, very intimidating. I have one player who's tried it. He's great, but it took him, like 2 years of playing to feel comfortable, even though he could have easily done it before then. I have a couple other people who want to try, but they're very, very, shy about it. And if you're a DM, I would say one way that you can sort of like spread the DM bug is to make it easy, right? Do the organizing, provide the materials, and be like, hey, I'm just going to give you these things. Will you run a game so I can just take a break from being a dungeon master?
Right. Let them don't read or run either of the starter sets, right? Let them do that, right? There's starter sets for D&D 5th edition, D&D 3rd, 4th, Pathfinder. I think step 1 to grow the community is make them listen to our show, obviously. That's right. Number 1. Number 2 is, I think, one of the things that if you're like really looking to start a community is to, as Rob's saying, run one-shots for different groups of people. I've had this happen where I've run a one-shot for a group of 4 people, a group of 6 people, and another group of 4 people. And from that group, there was, 5 that had enough time and a flexible enough schedule to play in a weekly game.
Yeah, that's the other thing is as time has gone on, I have had less... I've wanted to play more, but had less time to commit to full campaigns. I can really only maintain, either as a DM or a player, 1 or not really even 2 these days. But I which is why I'm more attracted to one-shots and short games. And also, this is a great way to bring people in without making them commit, right? And they can be hard to run because you don't get to do a lot of the fun part of like character creation. But it's I think especially for people who are nervous or uncertain, especially about DMing, do more one-shots and give them everything they need to do it once they've played a few games with you. And you will get some evangelists, some people who just love D&D and are happy to tell all their friends about it. This has been really, I have 2 friends who are just my hype men. They are just super excited to talk about Dungeons and Dragons way more than I am, like to anybody. Like they have no shame, and like that's how I've gotten a bunch of new players. So just keep bringing people in, and even people who you think might not be interested, and you'll never know who will stick around.
One way that I think works really well is to create a bi-weekly get-together, right? That is not just Dungeons and Dragons, right? Remember, as we have said on the show, is that Euro-style board games are like a gateway drug for role-playing games, right? If you play Pandemic Legacy or Settlers of Catan, right, eventually people will be open to, hey, I've gone over and had fun and sat down at a person's house for 2 to 3 hours. I can try something else in this space. So, if you're looking to pyramid scheme someone and really draw them in, make a bi-weekly game night where occasionally you're playing Mario Kart Double Dash, Settlers of Catan, and then sneak in this little old game called Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, that's a great, especially if, again, I haven't run into too much trouble with people like being resistant, but if they are, soft pedal it. Start them with Settlers of Catan or something else, and then work your way up.
Yes, we will have to make a Trimmers one shot. I've got some ideas that I've outlined, so we'll do that as a try and make an adventure in one episode soon. #soon.
All right, thank you, Dalton, for writing in. Really appreciate it.
Here is our next letter. Voicemail on the Dungeon Master hotline. Are you ready for it, Rob?
I'm ready.
Hey, yo, boys. Here's a question for you. What do you do when you have a player who is new, but they are keen on being a wizard or a druid or perhaps a cleric? One of the things that requires a good deal of homework in terms of preparing spells and the sorts. How much do you hold their hands through that beginning process, and how much do you have them do the research themselves? And do you have any advice as to what spells or other such capabilities to suggest for new players who want to dive deep into the arcane? Have a good one.
Okay, this is are you excited, Rob? This is our first voicemail.
Very
straight
first
from
voicemail.
The DM's hotline. We got to respond right now to help this person out. Leave your names on the voicemail. Also, okay. This is a good question, Rob. How do you help players who want to play complicated classes in Dungeons and Dragons? That's usually a wizard or a cleric.
Yeah.
I have my answer. I'm curious what yours is.
I have an answer. So these days with 5th edition, I let people play whatever they want. Yeah. I don't think there's any class that is too complicated for a new player to grasp. I do. Sometimes they don't like they think they want to be a wizard, but they're like, oh, this is a lot of bookkeeping.
Everyone thinks they want to be a wizard, but in their heart of hearts, they're more sorcerer level.
They definitely want to be a rogue. Yeah. So, if I think they want to be a wizard, but what they really want is something else, I'll push them that direction. But anything is handleable. If you're playing Pathfinder, I would absolutely say don't let a new player be an alchemist or a summoner or any of the really wacky archetypes.
Right. If you want to have a Shadowrun game and a player wants to be a matrix hacker and is unwilling to put in the work to learn what those rules are, it could slow the game down immensely.
Make sure you have a conversation about it. But with 5th edition, I say it's fine.
Yeah.
And here's my solution for 5th edition. Sorry, Matt.
My general answer is always yes. If you have a player who wants to play a complicated class and they seem like they're really into it, I am always willing to do all the homework and hard work for them, right? And usually that just ends up means picking their spells and then controlling what spells they're going to learn. If it means rewriting the spells in little one-line descriptions so they generally know what they do, I do that as well.
For 5th edition, there are a lot of resources that make this easy. With new players, I didn't used to do this, but now I just do. I just print out their spells for them and give it to them. There are some resources that you can find that will let you select the spells you want. You can just print them out on a couple pages. If you have spell cards, this is a great use of them. Again, I don't like to spend $20 on spell cards, but if you did want to, it's actually a pretty good solution, I have to admit. Again, if you have a book, they can use it, but I have found, especially with new players, that giving them a book and say, look it up, is actually a great way for them to panic and not be able to find it. So just give them a sheet of paper with their spells on it and make it easy for them.
Here's what I do for all my one-shots and pre-generated characters is on their page for every spell they have, I write a 1-sentence description of what the spell does. Right now, obviously that doesn't cover every corner case and stuff like that. And it's actually something I miss from earlier editions of Dungeons & Dragons where every spell came with a 1-sentence description. But I think that 1-sentence description is really important for new players, especially sometimes spells are like 2 paragraphs long, but what they do is actually really simple.
Yeah. This is a great, if you have time to do it, especially if you can sort of rewrite it in simple language, this is a really great thing to do. And I have been noticing that some of my players aren't really clear, and I'm like, oh, right. Like, it doesn't just say, like, what the spell does, right? So this is a great solution yeah.
And I think one of the solutions one of the hard things in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons with the 3 classes that the caller mentioned, Wizard, Druid, and Cleric, is that they actually have to pick spells at the beginning of the day. One of the ways around that is to really reduce the number of new spells that they add, right? Control the flow of new spell books they pick up for wizards until they've really mastered the idea of preparing spells. And for a cleric and a druid, where they have access to almost any of the spells in the book, right? Really, point them in the direction of sort of the most straightforward and the most generally useful spells.
I also...
So the answer, hold their hand through all of the process, is my opinion.
I used to be shy about this, but these days, I have a pretty good sense for what new players want, and I push them in the direction of spells that are more fun, more useful. You don't want them to take, like, well, unless they really want to, you don't want to give them, like, just Animal Messenger or something like that. If they don't have any life, like, or protection from good and evil, right? If they've only got like one spell, right, you want to give them something that's easy to use, effective in every combat, and makes sense, right?
The best spells overall and for new players are spells that do flashy things, like kill things that they don't like, or create effects that could not otherwise exist or change the game in a fundamental way. Spells like levitate, fly, or invisibility.
Right. I will say, again, you don't want to I'm not saying, like, give them only, like, damage spells, but, simpler is better. And I gotta say, this is something that's delighted my players, especially the ones who are new, is when they have spells that require the enemy to make a save, because they're always, like, very excited. Oh, I don't have to roll? And I'm like, that's right. They have to roll. It just happens. And they'll be disappointed if it's, like, hold person and doesn't do anything. But, yeah, it's always fun. Something like Thunder Wave or Shatter that just does something, even if it's not necessarily super effective.
That is a rule fun. That is hard to break new players of. The fact that magic just happens and you don't have to roll for it, right? I think that's a conversation for another time, but back to another letter, right? It's remember, you call for when rolls happen. I can't tell you how many times a new wizard's being like, I cast Magic Missile, and they start rolling D20s. I'm like, it just happens, buddy.
It just happens.
I cast Invisibility. Here's my roll for it. Well, you're invisible. That's a good roll, though. You're still invisible.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for calling in the DM hotline. And if you, listener, want to call the DM hotline, what's that number, Rob?
That number is, I have no idea.
774-203-4629. That's RPG 20D Hoax 774-203-4629. We look forward to your calls. Goblin operators are standing by. Rob, why don't you read us our next letter?
Here's our next letter from Abstract Figure, which Abstract Figure also gave us a name, but I like calling them Abstract Figure better, so I'm going to do that. Abstract Figure writes, Matt and Rob, about your Inspirations episode, which I loved. Thank you. I love that too. We may even do another one because there are a lot of things that we didn't talk about, but that was really fun for me. One thing about the film version of The Road is that it's directed by John Hillcoat, with music by Nick Cave, ? Do you want to confirm that? You know what? I'm going to say it's true, Abstract Figure.
Yeah,
and it's pretty legit.
Bad seeds.
They also made The Proposition together, an intense Australian Western. I've actually heard good things about that, and I have not seen it.
I will add The Proposition to my list of movies to watch.
I love Australian Westerns.
Did you like the film version of The Road? Sorry, you were going to say something
else. Well, I was just going to ask you, the best... there's a great Australian Western...
Quigley Down Under?
No, The Man from Snowy River is the name of it, and it takes place in... whatever that northeastern part, Victoria, Queensland. But it was, great Australian Western. So I have not seen the film version of The Road. I heard good things about it. I have read the book. I've not seen it. Matt, have you seen it? What did you think?
Yeah, I saw it. It was not bad, but it's also, I don't know, not my cup of tea. I feel like film adaptations of Cormac McCarthy are pretty hit and miss, right? No Country for Old Men, No
Country for Old Men. Yeah,
Old Country for No Men. Very good, right?
Very good. Incredible.
I didn't dig all the pretty horses. I don't know. I feel like it's hit and miss for me.
Yeah, On the Road, I'm not sure lends itself to film adaptation. It's just also like a very grim. I mean, I don't know. I get. It's a grim world out there, and I have found that I have less energy.
It was a good film in that it made me sad, just like the book did. So
yeah. It takes a lot for me to muster up the enthusiasm for something like that, though I do want to see it. I have heard it's very good. I love Viggo Mortensen, and
Viggo Mortensen is like a real life Dungeons and Dragons hero. He can do all the things. He can raise and ride horses. He can actually use a sword. He speaks 7 languages.
Yeah.
You know, he's won a prize in Spain for his photography.
Yeah. True Renaissance man, Viggo Mortensen.
All right. Thanks for writing an abstract figure.
Sorry. There's one more thing.
Yeah, and Cinderblock Sally's cover of Critical Hit.
Yeah, Abstract Figures says that, that they love Cinderblock Sally's cover of Critical Hit. We do too. They also want to know where to download a copy. We will ask Cinderblock Sally and see if there's an MP3 that we can put up for download.
We do not own it, but we will ask the author.
Yeah. Thanks for writing in, Abstract Figure, and tell us about more Australian Westerns, because I'm a big fan.
All right. Now this is an email. That's
an email.
This is from Ellery. Good afternoon, gents. Thanks for your awesome review of my setting, Welkin. I am writing because of your segment on collaboration during your Artificer episode. I've actually been looking for some collaborators, as most of my D&D group moved out of town, half to Boston, half to Seattle, no less. I understand you guys probably have a ton of ideas you want to work on. I would be willing to help you guys out with editing, proofreading, or layouts if you're not interested in adding a collaborator. I was an ESL, EFL teacher for 10 years and an art teacher too. Sometimes an extra pair of eyeballs is all you need. Thanks, Ellery.
Ellery, we absolutely could use another set of eyes at the very least. And an editor, actually, and playtesters. To be honest, towards the end of the Artificer, I really wish we'd had at least 1 or 2 more people to send it to that we could count on. So we will reach out to you.
Yeah, if you're a listener and you want to help playtest things, absolutely. Let us know.
If for nothing else, for playtesting and for editing, you will 100% receive a credit for that. We definitely I would love to do some sort of anthology, to be honest, where we solicit monster or item designs.
The real sort of D&D pyramid scheme. You all send us one of the monsters.
That's a future thing. Yeah. But if you're the kind of person who wants to be involved with something, let us know. No promises. We are very busy and also lazy people, so it's taken us a long time to get to the things that we want to do, but it's something we would love to do at some point.
Thanks for your interest, and absolutely, if you want to be added to the list of people who we could send a copy of things we try and create, let us know, and we'll send you a copy. That sounds fun for us.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one.
Actually, Rob, that's all the emails we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't believe we got through all of our letters. Wow, way to go, us.
I'm as surprised as you are.
So yeah, if you have questions for us, please write. We'll do another. So coming up, we'll talk about the what is it called? Penny Arcade guys.
Yeah. So coming up, we're going to talk about Acquisitions Incorporated, the hardcover book for 5th edition.
Hardcover book. I think probably after that we'll do our Tremors episode. I've been thinking about Bulettes nonstop since we mentioned that.
Me too.
I really want to design that. And then we are probably going to work on a very, very beginner episode, which we will release with some sort of short guide on how to get started, like real basically as a DM, and how to play Dungeons and Dragons from like a fundamental level.
Yeah,
but if you have
Rob and I were thinking about this, like this is, I think, I was just flipping through the starter set for 5th edition, which I haven't actually read until just a month ago, and was just thinking that there's all this basic advice for players, but very little for dungeon masters.
Yeah. And this
that's kind of a
came
problem.
Up in an interview, which I'll have to look up at one of the recent conventions, but one of the designers was like, this is one thing that we realize we have a deficiency in, right? There's no simple guide for how to get started as a DM. So, at some point I think probably Wizards will address this, but in the meantime, Matt and I feel strongly about this and we want to do something about it. So we're going to work on something, a real simple guide for just how to get into it.
Well, this is what some of our letter writers in this episode and previous episodes have pointed out, right? I mean, one of the biggest barriers to entry to play in the past has been like, people don't know what a role-playing game is, but now with so many actual plays and things on television, they see what it can look like. So that's no longer a barrier. Maybe the biggest barrier now is having someone who will be a storyteller, game master, dungeon master.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know
are
what
the
the-
linchpin. That is the keystone.
I don't know what the numbers are, but from what I gather, it's the biggest problem is finding someone to DM or finding DMs for your games. And we want to help. So yeah, if you have other thoughts for us or ideas for episodes or questions, please write us at dmofnone@gmail.com or add us on Twitter at dmofnone. You can also call in at 774, choose
you fucked up, God damn it.
4629. What is that number again, Matt?
That's 774-203-4629, the Dungeon Master hotline.
We love to hear from you, written or otherwise. And thank you all for all your contributions. And keep rolling them dice.
So long.
Take a little walk to the edge of town and go across the track where the viaduct looms like a bird of doom as it shifts and cracks, where secrets lie in the border fires and the humming wires. Yeah, man, you know you're never coming back. Past the square, past the bridge, past the mills, past the stacks. On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.